Hey, I'm Stephen Webb, the host of Living Deeper Lives, the podcast that looks deeper into what it means to be human so you can overcome your suffering and start living a full life. And you're currently listening to the Screaming Chewy Show.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can find me at anchor.fm/screamingchewy@gmail.com. There'll be three options for a monthly subscription. First one, I believe, starts at $1 a month, yo. Yeah, $1 a month. Yeah, and if you don't want to, that's cool. You can follow me on Facebook and YouTube, Screaming Chewy Show, for some memes, some more videos, full episodes, and behind the scenes kind of deal, right? You can follow me on Twitter, Screaming Chewy. Yeah, not Screaming Chewy Show. I should probably change it, but it's just Screaming Chewy. And thanks for listening. Peace. Hey, you got this great idea for a podcast? You think it'll do very well? Maybe you're right, but you have no idea how to start it, right? Maybe you don't have access to a computer, maybe programs, it could be pretty complicated, right? Well, guess what? You don't have to. All you have to do is just go to anchor.fm/start. That's it. Or get the app. It'll do everything for you. You have all the tools, and guess what? It's free. Yeah, that's right. It's free, and you get paid for it. Boom. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. So go to anchor.fm/start, and boom, you're welcome. So I look forward to hearing your podcast. Please jump on in and join us. Join me in this vast community of podcasters. Great. Thanks.
My biggest conspiracy regarding that is bankers pretty much are the hierarchy of society right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a big crazy arcade where they yield the coin and control how much of the coins are in circulation, get you hooked on the gift shop and playing their game. It really does. That's the best way I can describe how I see things happening.
Wow.
And so, it's no coincidence to me that there were an actual thing called banker hours, the ones that everyone is kind of forced to live on, except us creative nocturnal types who defy that order completely and know what the hell they're up to, because we do.
For real, huh? That's very true, because I'm a night owl, always been.
It's screw you and your banker's hours, and the bankers are like, it's okay, we don't really need those so much anymore. You have a phone. Enjoy.
Here's a distraction.
I got a tally on you at all times. I don't even need daylight anymore. 9 to 5 when it gets bright, and when the sun bellows. That was easy for them to be able to see and monitor what we were doing, no doubt.
Oh, wow.
School hours, bankers hours, business hours, all the same.
Very true, huh? Weekends off.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's normal now,
It's been normalized for so long that, it's still working. That's the baffling part, is that there's almost no way out at this point.
Yeah, and I think, more and more people are starting to realize it, especially the news, right? I tell people, the news, it's all scripted. I mean, yeah, there might be some truth here and there, but it's all scripted. There's only 4 news channels that own everything, and they're owned by the government. And people are like, The news ain't fake. And I showed them this video. I think it was Sinclair or something, but it showed different news channels from different states, right? And they were all saying the same exact shit. It would show one channel saying a sentence, then the next channel says the same fucking sentence, and then on and on, and they're all saying the same exact shit. The only thing they change is the channel name and the state. And I show that to people, and they're like, "What the fuck?" They don't know what to say.
It's funny because I feel like most of us as kids played the game telephone. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the fisherman story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they started with like different stories for me, but it's the same idea, right? Where they like say something, and then by the time it gets to the end of the circle, it's like completely different.
Hmm.
You know, that is a really, I really did heed that when I was a kid, thinking, damn, that's pretty damn scary.
And
So I
then
guess I have, I guess I have to learn for myself and not listen to secondhand information, because like the one who sat next to me was my best friend. You know, and it wasn't her fault that by the time it got to her before it got to me, it was already screwed up. So even if you trust your own friend, it doesn't mean that her source or the 20 sources before it are accurate. So I was hearing almost like hearing a lie from my best friend who would never lie to me, save for if she had the wrong information. So I just kind of learned to be like, okay, instincts, what is your gut vibe about this? And research. Research is endless. You can like read a Greek mythology book, and you can go online and you can Google that same thing and have completely different stories.
very true.
You know, and the news is no different. And even the things that, like, you know, the Mesopotamian clay tablets and Aztecs and the Egyptians, their words were like scribed into stone, making them, you know, more concrete for real. Um,
Hmm. Can't just
but
copy
that,
and paste it.
but like, who was delegating them to write? You know what I mean? You have to think that there's like an author-led bias, and that author-led bias could have gone through 20 sources of information before they decided to imprint it on paper, tablets, walls, whichever. It doesn't make it true. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. And
So
then
there's
they were big on stories back then. There was no television.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
I think the best thing you can do is think of like the philosophy, you know, and trust that the most.
yeah, I always loved philosophy. And I mean, I don't know how you feel about religion, but that telephone thing, like I kind of see religion like in that way too. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
I'm an eclectic spiritualist, so I couldn't get monogamous to one religion, and my family's Catholic, like
mhm.
super super Catholic, and I got in a lot of trouble in church for questioning too many things.
So wow, that's crazy. So I'm in the same exact way. My parents are Mexican, old school Catholic, and they always try like I'd go to Catholic church and growing up and stuff, but I would always ask them questions and they could never answer. And so all the time when they can't answer, they'll just be like, "Well, you just have to believe, you have to have faith." And I'm like, "Well, that's not good enough." Like,
And you got in trouble for that part, right?
yeah, because they're like, "No, don't question it," and I'm like, "Why?" Like,
You sound kind of suspicious to me, man.
yeah, like I might sound like an asshole, but I'm just being honest. They're like, "Don't question your religion, just believe." And I'm like, "Well, why? Why do I have to?"
You've got science that tells you to question everything, and religion
Exactly.
tells, you know, and I'm just like, I don't know, that seems a little more right to me. Like,
Yeah, like if God gave, like I do believe in God, I just don't believe in religion. And I'm
same.
like, I tell people, like, why would He make us with a crazy brain that like wants to understand and question everything, but we can't question your religion? Nah, I don't know about that.
You know, there's no such thing as a prophet or a philosopher who wasn't curious. You know, so like to have an accepting prophet, just like Christianity is a great example. I think the like personification of Jesus is awesome. I mean, like I would totally hang out with someone exactly like him if I could.
Hmm.
You know, and but I feel that way about a lot of mythology. I like Buddha. What I would do to be in a room with Buddha, that would be great. So
Happy fat guy.
the happy one, there's so many different versions of him, and I like all of them too. But I think the funny thing is like there's something good to be found in each of them, which is why I couldn't commit to one of them. And by doing that, I found continuity in almost all of them. You know what I mean?
Wow.
At first, I'm like, I'm going to accept all of you guys because my own religion doesn't accept my questions. and I accept it. So,
That's smart.
and then I just started, tapping into a whole bunch of them, and I'm like, wow, these are all pretty cool. Like, what the heck? Why are these religions fighting with each other? And then I learned about bureaucracy and the big, divide that comes in the form of religion, race, gender,
There's something
political
else to argue about.
Yeah, I know, you're right. And you don't have to either. That's the funny part, is you don't have to get angry with someone for having like a different belief. The best thing you can do is try to understand them so that you can learn something from them and they can learn something from you.
I like that. I like the way you think.
Thank you.
I think the problem is people get offended too easily, because when I tell them I don't believe in religion right away, they're like, "Oh, so you don't believe in God?" And I'm like, "No, I do. I just don't believe in religion." And they're like, "Well, how could you believe in God and not in religion?" And I'm like, "Ugh." I'm like, it's gonna take some explaining.
You know, you know what I do? I'm like, I am spiritual, but not religious.
Yeah, and they almost think you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
In like 1792, you might get killed for it in Salem.
oh, for sure.
and that's like, I love visiting Salem because it's like 2 hours from me, because it's kind of like the Berlin Wall and Salem. They both show you like how terrible those types of things can be, like bureaucracy leaking into faith, that people are willing to do horrible things to each other in the name of quote unquote religion. Like you have, even like, I love history. I take history with a grain of salt, and I really load it up on philosophy so that I can get any integrity out of the potential prospect I'm being lied to. But like with like Catholics and Protestants is a really good example. Like hundreds of years of fighting each other over the same ascended master or
Popularity
God.
contest.
Yes. And people doing things that in that type of religion would be considered completely blasphemous.
Right? Like the Crusades, when they would kill people if you didn't believe. Like, what?
Right. The Inquisition and the witch hunts and those types of things are like great examples. And when you look at them in their face in like 2020, like if you go into a gift shop in Salem particularly, you'll see Christian, pagan, Hindu, and Buddhist in the same shop, sitting peacefully side by side, and nobody judging anybody for looking at whichever ones they want.
Awesome.
It turned a horrible like 18th century thing into like something incredibly beautiful.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of what should really happen, like on a grand scale, I think.
Which is funny because my homie, well, he's my roommate too, but he's a Christian and he's been involved in the church for a long time. And but he knows, how I am and how I feel about religion. And it don't offend him. He don't care because he knows how I am. Like if you don't know me, you'll probably think I'm an asshole for saying the things I do. But I'm really just trying to understand. I think I just say it too bluntly sometimes, like straight to the point, I'll be like,
blunt people shoot straight from their heart like a poet,
yeah, like I'm like, hey man, so there's all these religions and some of them are older than others, and why is yours more important than theirs? Why are you right and they're wrong? Like why?
I have a sister who, after years of going back and forth over my eclectic spiritualism and her strict Christianity, I sat down and I said, the one thing we have in common is that I think love is the only truth in all of them. And so if there was anything that I did worship and I had to be like monogamous and settle for just one thing, it would be love.
Wow, that's a powerful thing right there.
Well, there's Egyptian love goddesses and Greek love goddesses. You have the Mother Mary and Jesus with like the Sacred Heart. It seems to me like all religions are telling you that the way to ascend to highest consciousness is through unconditional love and acceptance.
Wow.
Like that seems the most right to me. Like that's the continuity and my favorites of them.
I wonder if like this is really off, but I wonder if aliens believe in that, in love. You know what I mean? I wonder if they see our religion and our beliefs and they're like, what are you guys doing?
Um, I wonder if aliens are ascended beings and if they're just waiting for us to catch up to them, and the only way to transcend and to ascend is, through that medium. Because I mean, when I think about love, there's like love to be found in like the darkest romance, and there's love to be found, with the passion that like drives us, even if it's not just the love that like we have for like our children, our friends, our animals, our parents, whatever. Our love for art, communication, all of those things, it still comes from that same source, even faith. So to me, that's the best driving force, like, of everything. It isn't prejudiced to dark or light. It's completely unconditional. And when you think of everything being one conscious reality, it seems to me that's the adhesive to that reality, or to the higher aspects of it. Does that make sense?
Damn, you just blew my mind.
It does make sense though, right?
Oh yeah, it does for sure. Wow.
So I mean, out of all that religious scope, that's like the juice that I carved out of it.
Yeah, and like I tell people like, yo man, just love and just be yourself. Like, because there's so many people that live like miserable lives because their whole lives they did what their religion told them to do, what their parents told them to do, and they live these lives to make other people happy, and they're so fucking miserable. It's
Though that's kind people too sometimes, unfortunately. Like
oh
sometimes when
yeah.
sometimes when you love someone and your intentions are good for them, you can also run yourself down into misery to do for them, what they shouldn't sometimes be doing for themselves. So like I know, when you're one of the best things in theory to do is kind of like lead a horse to water and let them drink. But if you're a person who loves someone, you'll break your back holding that horse on your back and leading it to water anyway, no matter how good in theory that other thing sounds.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
So I've
And
been pretty miserable to, in the name of doing. But you know what? If you're miserable doing what's right, and by my terms of what's right is like in the name of love, then at least you don't have the guilt to go with that misery. In the end, I mean.
there you go. Because you're doing it for a reason, not because, you know, doing it for that person or for the love.
Exactly. And no matter like what happens in the end, whether you succeed or not, at least your intentions were well aimed. And if it doesn't work, then it's a lesson learned too. It's
Hmm.
it's hard. It's hard though. Like it's easier to talk about that than when like the emotions are happening and you're like wrapped off and getting pissed off. That fight or flight mode that lasts sometimes for like 15 minutes to like 2 hours, depending on. You
Yep.
know what I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
So what I do sometimes is just throw some heavy metal on, some Mortal Kombat, fight it out.
Oh, hell yeah.
Get it out of your system, and then once it's out, the only way out is through sometimes. Sometimes you just can't fake it.
Go punch a wall. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that was so teenager times too.
For real, right? I think we've all done that once or twice.
Maybe I have too.
But I like your idea of heavy metal Mortal Kombat. That's a pretty good combo right there.
Dude, it really is. If you haven't tried it, it's a dark approach. Meditation could work as well, and and some other more like Zen ways of going about it. I try to go that method first. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna surmise for a little while. I'm gonna try to think on this, and if I'm still pissed off after that 15 minutes, Mortal Kombat and some Slayer.
Just fucking murder somebody in digital.
This thing isn't human or animal.
Just rip them in half fucking man. You seen how they're like? I think Johnny Cage's move when he'll like do the splits and hits you in the balls. You know how they do the X-ray vision where you can see the muscles and bones. You see like
Yes.
big balls pop. I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
You mean the fatalities?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, the fatalities need their own song altogether on this one. It's so awesome.
Damn. I like
Yeah, I think
how. Oh,
the
go ahead.
best. I was so sorry. I was gonna say the best fatality I think is Katana's on this new one that just came out so far.
Katana. What does she do?
It's just the way she has like this sexy latex boot, and and she curves them with it, like she stabs right into their eye in slow motion.
Holy shit. She starts off all sexy.
And that's not the beginning or the end of it. That's just my favorite part of that scene. So,
Yeah, I got a little Mortal Kombat. That's a classic. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like or go on Grand Theft Auto and kill some hookers and wreak havoc or something. You know, just gotta let it out.
oh my God. I cannot steer on Xbox Grand Theft Auto. That's my biggest problem. I'm like trying to chase after a boat and shoot at the same time. I'm like, I'm not coordinated enough for this. Like,
Yeah, especially in the Grand Theft Auto 5, how there's the first person view on it. Oh my god.
it's hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I'm not. I guess I don't play video games enough, which is part of the problem. I love them, but I feel guilty if I spend too long on them.
I get pissed off sometimes in the multiplayer because I'll be roaming around and there'll be like a fucking 13-year-old kid and he's got this flying bike with rockets and he keeps killing me and I can't kill him because he's flying around. I'm like, you little asshole. Probably got your parents' credit card to buy that or something.
Get over here in real life.
For real, right?
Have you seen the movie Game Player One?
Yes, the VR one.
Yes, that gives me high expectations with video games. I'm gonna wait until that happens before I get completely involved, because it seems possible.
Yeah, for sure. Some of those VR games are getting pretty fucking crazy now.
Yeah, the best VR experience I think is like Universal Studios, where you're like a ride, but you're also doing like virtual reality. It's so awesome.
Oh, I haven't been there since I was a kid because I was born in LA. And I remember in Universal Studios, there was a King Kong ride. And scared the fuck out of me when I was little because you're in this little rinky dinky, like wooden bridge. And King Kong's right there, like, raw, and he's like shaking the bridge. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to die.
Yeah, I actually there's some new stuff there that I've got to check out because the last time I went, the coolest thing there was like the Spider-Man ride, I thought.
Whoa, how was that?
Well, I thought it was amazing, but that was 2005. So I'm sure that there's definitely better there now. It's like watching Jurassic Park back then versus like watching the new one regarding graphics and all that cool stuff.
I think there is a Jurassic Park ride too.
Oh, there is. And though, there's a Star Wars ride there now.
What?
Yep. And that's the main reason I want to go.
Man, I remember there was this Back to the Future one. And you're in a room and there's this huge screen in front of you. And I think you have 3D glasses. And this ride, has a whole bunch of seats, but it's like you're in the car. And you're like flying around and you see the clock and you're about to hit in, like, so that your seats actually move up and down and back and forth. And like, yeah, it was pretty fucking crazy. But I can't imagine now. It's probably all fucking holograms and shit now.
I know. I mean, honestly, speaking of like Back to the Future, we didn't get the 2020 that we were hoping with like hoverboards and stuff.
Right? What the fuck happened to hoverboards, man?
We might be a little upset when we get there if we have like the same expectations that we had with like the Back to the Future depiction altogether, because that seemed like a really awesome future.
It did, huh? And then when that guy was it Back to the Future 2 when that guy Bud when he became president?
that
I'm like, that looks familiar.
Yeah, but if there was an actual president like that, though, they wouldn't have looked so like advanced as they did. A president like that's like Idiocracy. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yes.
Actually, Idiocracy, I didn't realize how true that movie would end up proving to be. I swear, if they start putting Gatorade in sprinklers, I'm calling it quits.
So you need water. You mean like for the toilet?
Oh no. You've seen it too, then.
I love that movie. I love when he's going to prison and there's one line going in and one line coming out. And he tells the guard, hey, man, I'm in the wrong line. I'm supposed to be coming out of prison. And the guard's like, dumbass, get in the other line.
I thought the best part was when they were in the arena and he had that little tiny car. That was the funniest scene, I thought. That and the food machine. The vending machine was pretty funny too.
Oh, I don't remember the vending machine.
There's a starving woman and she's at the machine. And the thing like totally mocks the fact she's like porn star. You have to look it up on Google or YouTube. Yeah.
It's pretty sad, but I mean, at least we can laugh about it.
Well, this is the closest we've ever been to that movie. I feel like this year has definitely been like, wow, holy Notre Dame, that movie was.
Yeah, like some people, oh my God, man, like it's embarrassing. Like if aliens come down, I hope they don't talk to those people first.
I have so many memes about that. Like so many memes about aliens coming down and looking at us. That's one of my favorite meme themes.
Fuck, I think there's been some like, yeah, you're right. Like, this is why aliens won't talk to us, and then somebody doing something stupid, right?
Or maybe they're just eavesdropping on us for amusement right now, and they're picking and choosing who they want to keep. I hope so. That'd be cool.
Hey, there you go.
I mean, I watched Star Trek, the 1964 Star Trek. Have you seen that?
Holy shit. Nah. Damn,
I love
1964.
I love old movies. Like, I'm in love with old movies. They're my favorite. But 1964, I think it was, there was a Star Trek where aliens put human beings behind glass the same way that we do at zoos. And they were analyzing us, like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He's primitive. He's showing primitive emotions, and I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny as hell. What you just said reminded me of that somehow.
Wow! I just the other day on Facebook, I was seeing this. I follow this page called Unbelievable Facts, and I forgot what year, but it might have been the 60s or 70s, like in Baltimore or somewhere in their zoo. There was a mirror and it was labeled the most dangerous animal in the world. I thought that was pretty deep.
Oh, that was very like Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Right? I think we're just like good entertainment for the aliens, you know, like
that's what I think.
You're like, look at these dumbasses. Like
they're so cute and stupid and reckless.
It's like, look, this one has a different opinion, and now they're fighting.
There's a new meme where there's like bees that are preparing for the killer bees by taking toilet paper to their hives. I mean, they at least must like our sense of humor. I think that we have that going for us.
Hey, for real, huh? That's probably why they haven't killed us off.
They're artistic and funny. Yeah, I can let this go on for a little while longer.
We'll probably make cute pets. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know. A human being would be my last choice.
Right.
For a pet.
I talked to this lady. She had a pet monkey for 20 years. Those little monkeys, and she said it was having like a little human. Like he would understand. He couldn't speak, but he would understand everything she's saying. Or even when she got a cold, she could give him a cold. Like it was weird.
That is actually weird. I don't know anyone who's ever owned a monkey.
I think that'd be too weird because, like, if he's like too smart, like a human, like um, like, let's say you bring somebody home, like your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're in the room getting intimate, like your dog, they probably don't give a fuck. But the monkey, he'd probably be like listening or trying to see you. You know what I mean?
I had a cat that was creepy in that way once. I swear he watched every time too.
Would he
But
just stay still and watch or what?
yeah, he looked like he was interested, and then sometimes I think he would know that I was watching him watch me, like, and he'd look away. But you don't know what they're thinking anyway.
Wow.
You've had some friends with a lot of interesting pets, man. Pythons and monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
You're so lucky.
Yeah, I think it's just law of attraction, you know. And
Yeah, well,
but I wish I don't know. Well, I didn't know the lady personally. I did an interview with her, but yeah, I have never met somebody that had a monkey. But I think that'd be pretty interesting. I heard another story a long time ago. This coworker told me his friend got a pet monkey, and he went to work and came back, and he like destroyed all his CDs and like fucked up the whole living room. There was like shit all over the walls, and then he opened the window, and ran away.
oh my god, it's like having a drunk uncle in your house.
For real, huh? He said he had to pay to get him, and then he's just gone.
sorry, sorry, kid. I had too much moonshine. I'll have to get back to you.
I shit all over the walls. My bad. And sometimes I still wonder, like, I wonder what happened to that monkey. Like, did somebody find him, or did he live on the streets? I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually a really sad and good point. Way to ruin ruin that happy moment.
Hey, but maybe he found somebody rich and lived a happy life, or I don't know, found another monkey, had a little family.
Well, hopefully they were in the semi-tropics or tropics when that happened.
With plenty of bananas.
Yes, because otherwise monkeys don't do too well, and then wouldn't do too well up here if that happened.
I think that
But
would be creepy.
I mean, though, you have people doing weird stuff like that. Though, if you've seen like Dirty Grandpa,
Oh, I love Dirty Grandpa.
you know that scene where it's like shit spraying on the walls.
I forgot about that.
See, like humans do that kind of stuff.
And he doesn't he just like wipe his ass and like just leave it there.
Yeah, I think he like farts consecutively until it like gets out of control.
I like when he's acting like he's like, I think his junk gets stuck in a vending machine.
And he pulls on it.
Yes. People are like, oh my god.
Like it actually stretches. Can you imagine how painful that would be if it were real? I mean,
And he's like, and it's like, that's the only thing holding him too. You know, he's like leaning back. I'm like, oh my god. And it's funny
yeah,
how there's that innocent little kid, you know, with the grandpa like that.
I honestly, I can't lie. I thought it was funny as hell. I really did.
It's wrong, but it's funny.
It is wrong, and I know there's some times where comedy, and it's specifically comedy too, is where I get the most wrong. Where I sometimes lower my values because I like laughing so much.
Right? Sometimes you just gotta laugh at it. Like,
Yeah, it's like I know this is wrong, but I can't stop the worst thing ever is when people fall. I have, and it's always my friends that fall too. And I was the only Caucasian at one of my best friend's parents, Asian parents' wedding. I'm not wedding. Oh my God, I'm totally the opposite funeral. And her and I were having a discussion about how we laugh out of nervousness. And it seemed like fate that one of her relatives would drunkenly stumble in front of us at a celebration following that funeral. And I was like, Wendy, don't laugh. No matter what this is not the time to do it. You will instantly turn into a white devil this moment if you do. And that pressure made me die laughing. It was horrible. And it was terrible. And I couldn't stop myself. And the whole time I was apologizing, like, please forgive me. I can't help myself. I love them so much. And they're such great people. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Hello, everyone. It's the Coupon Queenpin here from the CQP Moments podcast, and you're listening to The Screaming Chewy Show.
Did you get weird looks?
Of course I did. And I deserved every one of them for having no restraint, too.
They're like, did you touch some drinks before you came here or something?
Well, like, luckily for me, I made sure he was okay. I always make sure they're okay before I start laughing. I have that much restraint.
That way you're not laughing and they're like dead or something.
No, yes. I'm not that bad. Or even hurt for that matter. If they're hurt or dead, I'm not going to, I hope, God, I haven't been in that predicament. No, I'm pretty sure. Because I do have make that conscious effort to be like, hey, are you okay? If I get the nod, then I know the only thing not okay is I'm probably embarrassing myself and them at that moment. Like, oh, you're okay, great.
Yeah, I have that same habit of laughing when people fall. I think it's just a Mexican thing. Because, like, when we fall, it's like, dumbass. Like, we say pendejo. Like, that's why you fell, because you're a dumbass. And so,
right.
Like, I was hanging out with my buddy Sammy and his friends. He invited me to, like, a party, and I was the only Mexican. Everybody else was white. And Sammy was, like, leaning back on his chair, and he fell back. And immediately I started fucking laughing, and everybody, like, rushed to him, like, oh, my God, are you okay? And then that's when I stopped laughing. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm the only one laughing.
That is no less the equivalent of my situation. You know that, right?
Yeah, you were at a funeral. That's
Oh, no. I was at a celebration after.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, and of course, I was there with, like, immediate family, too. Not everyone there got to go. I was honored to be able to go.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
They probably still remember you.
Oh, no, they knew me since I was 7. Thank God for that.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank God for that, too. I know, because I have been, like, at, like, weddings and things like that with some of my long-term friends, but their parents have known me since I was a kid. And they're like, oh, that's just Wendy. She's weird. She's harmless, but she's weird. Just leave her alone.
Just
we
let her laugh.
anyway.
So you probably love to watch the Fail Army videos.
What is that? I haven't seen those.
So if you look on YouTube, look up Fail Army, and it's just a whole bunch of videos of people falling, just doing stupid shit.
Oh, no. Are they painful ones?
Some of them. It's not like, I don't think they like break bones. I mean, just
you know
people...
what? That'd be the perfect test to see, though, if I could still laugh. So I'm going to try it.
There you go. And they're like, there's a whole bunch of different ones, like different categories, but they're all like 10 minutes long, 20 minutes long. So it'd be quite a test.
I have a best friend who 2 weeks ago was helping me carry like a 5'9" mannequin up a staircase. And it's in 2 parts. It's kind of hard to hold it together. And the staircase is wicked steep. And he's like 5'4". He's a tiny little thing. And and he fell while he was doing that for me, and he started laughing at himself, and I started laughing at him.
He fell down the stairs.
not all the way down the stairs.
Oh, okay. I can just picture him rolling down.
But even if it was all the way down, if he was laughing, that's still a green light to go.
He's all laughing as he's rolling down.
But that's what we do. Like, I laugh at myself when I fall.
Yeah, me too.
I laughed at myself for breaking my wrist trying to kick one of my friends.
Ouch! You tried to kick him and fell?
Well, no, I kicked him, and he caught it because it was a pretend kick. It wasn't one that was intended to like land, and he grabbed it, and I'm like, I'm gonna kick you with my other, which would have worked at 2 feet above the ground where I was, but he decided to lift my leg up, and so I landed on my wrist, and it broke. And I thought it was funny as hell because right before that happened, I'm like, me, you're gonna pull Jackie Chan move on you, and I failed demonstrably. So there was no way I wasn't gonna laugh in spite of like my hand beginning to swell.
Laughing and crying at the same time.
I'm like, ow, this hurts. But it's so damn funny. I can't stop myself.
Yeah, sometimes when I fall or trip and I laugh, even if I'm by myself, I'll laugh and I'll be like, fucking dumbass. Like, I just.
Right, I walk into stuff sometimes and I call myself a dumbass too. I'm like, are you kidding me? You already have a bruise on that knee from doing the same thing.
Yeah, like I tell people, I'm like, sometimes I do talk to myself. It's not often, but when I do, it's like, it's me saying like, fucking idiot or like something,
You could always answer yourself too if they're listening, just in case.
Right? It's okay as long as you don't argue with yourself like the people in the streets.
I was just gonna say, I've seen people in the streets do that.
There was a guy like crossing the street and he had no shirt and he was like fucking arguing, like just walking and screaming. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, I love the city I'm from. I really do. But in the 70s, they let out a couple of insane asylums. And so, like, not just...
Whoa.
Yeah, you have to look it up, the Grafton Hill Insane Asylums in Worcester. Anyway, there's already, like, an eclectic range of, like, cultures and things. And so I take my offspring there. Sometimes we'll make bags and, of things that we're not using that might be useful to people and hand them to homeless people when it's cold sometimes. And that's something that we just do sometimes. It's during the winter. Anyway, my first time taking her out, there was a guy, I'm like, he looks like he could use some help, and we get around the corner and he's arguing with himself. I'm like, no, we're not gonna stop there. We're gonna let him keep her. We're gonna find someone a little safer to help today, honey. And then,
grab her by the arm. Let's go.
It happened twice that day, and she's like, Mom, is this a normal thing around here? So, I mean, there's quite a few of them walking around in my city, and I'm proud that I'm not one of them, but I definitely, think out loud sometimes.
That's good,
Sometimes I think we need to hear our inner monologue on the outside.
Hey, did you know some people don't have an inner monologue?
Oh, those lucky people.
Yeah, I guess there's a recent study recently. People found out that not everybody has an inner monologue. I'm like, what the fuck? I talk to myself all the time in my head.
Those like 1940s movies where you can hear their inner monologue?
Yeah.
That is precisely why I love those movies. And actually, I gave my main character, an inner monologue.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Right? And she's kind of eccentric, so her like interpretation of things it's kind of like being a curator for like a museum, because she sees things through the lens of like an artist and an empath. But I give her that 1940s like inner monologue.
That's so fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. And that's what inspired it too, was my love for that stuff. And she was sitting at a desk across the street. Like, I just love it.
Yeah, people that don't have an inner monologue, I'm like wondering, like, how do they read? You know what I mean? Do they read out loud, or I don't know?
Oh, that's a really good question.
And then,
right?
Like, how'd that work?
Like, I wonder what a surmising session would be like without an inner monologue.
Oh.
Like, I can't even imagine doing that.
Like, I tell people, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say my inner monologue tells me that I can't meditate most of the time.
Right? Or sleep.
So yeah, definitely, it is the insomnia. It's like definitely 80% of my insomnia.
And like your body is tired and you're like, brain, just shut the fuck up. Like
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's silent. I do everything too. Like I do binaural beats,
oh,
rainwater,
oh, okay.
nature sound, classical music, a really crappy movie, pretty much anything to make it tune out. But I guess what finally happens is once I sort through the files that I need to figure out, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready to go to sleep because my mind's too exhausted to do it anymore. So if I want to go to bed by 2, I have to lay down by 11.
That's exactly how I am too. Like, no matter what shift I work, I can never go home and go right to bed. I always stay up. I always been like that. Whether it's first shift, second shift, third shift, I kind of envy people. They're like, yeah, I just got home and showered and went right to bed. I'm like, motherfucker, I have to stay
They're,
up like 6 hours.
they're those ones that probably don't have the inner monologue that you were referring to earlier.
Oh shit!
Maybe.
Damn, I
Maybe.
think you're onto something right there.
No, I think you're onto something because you said both things. I just connected them.
Damn, connected the dots. Like, and it's like irrational thoughts sometimes. Like I'll be laying down and I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. And your brain's like, hey, what if you fucked up at work today and you don't know till you get there tomorrow? And your boss is like, Chewy, can we talk? And I'm like, fuck, what if I did? Like fucking stupid shit.
Oh, the worst is thinking, did I close the windows in my car? Are the doors locked?
Oh
Do
my
I
god,
re-
for
Do
real.
I really need to get up and check right now? Because I could be paranoid. Or it could be undone. And like you'll get to a point where you either really have to get up and check, and then you have to get comfortable again.
And that's the worst part, getting comfortable.
Well, I mean, if you're physically comfortable, you're part of the way there. You just have to wait for your mind to shut up. But then your mind will do things to get you to get up too. Oh, should you go to the bathroom right now? You drank a ton of water an hour ago. Like,
That's right. When you're dazing off.
Like the munchies are the worst.
Oh my god, yeah. Yep. It's like you're laying down your body, your brain's like, cereal sounds pretty good right now.
Yes, Captain Crunch. Every time.
Oh my god, that's a classic right there.
I eat more Captain Crunch and Lucky Charms than most people.
Man. But I mean, that fucking tears up your mouth, like Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch does, yeah.
It's like eating sandpaper, but it's so good.
It's like eating pizza when it's hot. It has that same effect, Captain Crunch.
Hey, you're right. It kind of does have that like numbing a little bit.
One is a little more scratchy, and the other one is I just melted the roof of your mouth. But they still hurt.
After I'm done eating Captain Crunch, I can still feel like sensation on the roof of my mouth from scratching.
You overdid it. That's the problem. I'm almost there. I might have to switch to Cookie Crisp at one point.
Damn, I haven't had that in years.
Well, that's what I do with cereal is I go through like phases. Lucky Charms, that has maintained the longest phase. It's kind of like my Pink Floyd. It doesn't go. But
I love Pink Floyd.
See, Pink Floyd is my Lucky Charms. But have you ever heard someone say they don't like Pink Floyd if they have any taste in music at all, no matter what genre they like? That's
a very good point, because I have heard people say that they don't like Pink Floyd, but they don't have good taste in music.
Exactly. That's subjective, but I'm like, I listen to almost every genre, and Pink Floyd is better than most of the music in most of them.
Even his like, what's the lead singer's name? Roger Waters. He did a couple like solo things, and there's this song. It's a 3-part song, and it's called "What God Wants." I fucking love that song.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
I think that everyone, when they hit a crisis point in their teenage phase should watch The Wall.
Oh my God, I had to watch like I own it now, but when I first seen it, I was in high school, and my buddy had a shack in his backyard and had a couch and like a TV, and like we just get stoned and like play video games or watch old movies. Because his dad had a huge library of VHS tapes that he would record off the television, and so we just watch like really old movies and get stoned, and that's why I seen the Pink Floyd The Wall very first time.
Oh, wow.
I was so fucked up the first couple times that I watched it. I didn't know that the little kid and the main guy were the same person. I didn't realize the whole movie is his life. You know?
Both times?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I saw it the third time. I saw it sober, and I'm like, oh, it's about his life. I thought it was just random shit.
What's crazy is either way you can enjoy it, but I feel like even if you watch it sober, it does make you feel a little trippy. Even if you're completely sober watching that movie, you're like, wow, I feel like my mind just went on an acid trip somehow.
Right? Like the cartoons, and then like where the kids had no faces, and they're like, we don't need no education.
Well, when you get older, you can really appreciate like the metaphors. Like those are some of the most beautiful metaphors. Like I love that The Wall more now as an adult, and I can't say that about a lot of stuff I watched when I was younger. Like I remember thinking certain things were like this shit, and then I go like Captain Planet for instance. I told my like offspring, I'm like, hey, you've got to watch Captain Planet. When I was a kid, that kicked ass. She's like, Mom, he has a mullet.
He does. Oh shit.
I'm like, damn, you're right. I mean, so we did really watch like a lot of goofy stuff. Like I remember The Gate being like this epic horror movie. And I mean, I still think that like Nightmare on Elm Street's wonderfully creepy. Like it was ahead of its time, I think.
I think the first two were like creepy, and then after that, like he got funny. Like it was still creepy, but he got funnier. Like he would say like bitch and like his one-liners.
But that's what made him so great.
Right? He'd be like, welcome to the prime time, bitch. And then like smash her in the TV or something.
Let's get high.
Oh yeah, with the needles.
Yes, I'm still scared of needles because of that stupid scene.
I seen a meme actually that had a Trump when he said like inject with the disinfectants, and then it showed Freddie, let's get high. Like he had bleach inside the needles.
That's awesome. I think memes are the best thing that's actually come besides YouTube. Memes are like the best 21st century gift that we have, because it's kind of like quotes, but they're comedy quotes and pictures together, which is awesome. It gives you a visual stimuli and something to read at the same time.
I mean, because the memes, that's the only reason I watch Tiger King. And now all the memes make sense, and it's hilarious.
You know, I am not letting those memes pull me into Tiger King. What is that guy? Steve Irwin, is it?
Oh yeah, the crocodile hunter?
Yeah, so they have one meme about that where they're like, you order Steve Irwin on Wish and then you get him instead.
Oh my God.
I was like, I haven't even seen it, but that's perfect right there. So I don't need to see it because I'm not going to make the habit of buying things on Wish anymore, particularly clothes.
The memes that I've seen about Steve Irwin, they're all like really fucked up ones, like dark humor. Like it'd be like a stingray or something.
I don't know how that meme started with the blonde girl pointing, and then there's a cat at the other side of the table. I still to this day don't know what perpetuated that scene.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You know what caused that? Because I still don't.
I think it started on Twitter. I think it's two different totally things, but somebody put it together. Like they actually made the meme. But I think they're just like somebody's idea.
Oh, so it's not like based on a story that actually happened between the cat and the girl then?
No, not at all. Like somebody put those two together. But
You know what?
yeah,
I like the Star Wars memes because I understand all of those ones perfectly.
like the Darth Vader ones,
Yeah, Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. You know, I still haven't seen that show, but those memes are fucking hilarious to Baby Yoda. Um, oh my god, there was one that was really bad. I don't know if you've seen a picture that went viral, and it was these two people. They did heroin, and they're passed out in their car, the driver and passenger seat, and there's a baby in the back seat crying. And somebody they photoshopped Baby Yoda in the back seat.
Oh my god.
'Cause you know
No,
how
I haven't seen that.
he has that little like confused face.
Well, there's a really funny YouTube video with Yoda. Like it's like a voiceover. Have you seen those where they like make songs?
Oh yeah, yeah, like
Parodies?
a remix.
Yes. And there's one with Yoda singing My Stick. And that's funny as hell. It's definitely one of the funniest like Star Wars parody meme things I've seen so far.
I
But
gotta
except
check
that
that
one
out.
that you just I'm gonna have to check out that meme too.
Yeah, I was like, these fucking guys are fucking internet, man. Leave it to the internet.
Well, what are we gonna do? Everyone's quarantined, so
That's true,
uh,
huh?
haven't you noticed like an increase in memes in the past 3 months?
Oh, big time. And they're good
They are.
ones too.
Yeah, they are off the charts funny. It's like, you know what? This ship is sinking and I'm gonna laugh about it because what else can I do right now?
Like right now
But
it's all
spread
about
joy.
there you go. Right now it's all about the murder hornets. There was
It's
there was one that's like you know how everything's going to shit and it shows Jesus Christ. Well, I think it's Matthew McConaughey, but and he's all skinny and they photoshopped him into like Jesus Christ, like smoking a cigarette, and he looks all fucking nervous. And it says when Jesus watches the ATF agents go to my house as I fill the sprinklers with gasoline and I'm waiting behind the door
wow.
or some shit.
I think that's really dark. I haven't seen that one either. I've seen so many like, could 2020 get any worse? And then it's hold my beer. you know. Because there's like, could 2020 get any worse? And then there's Godzilla. There's like so many different ones. And it's true, like 2020 has been, I feel like it's been bad for society, but better for the planet.
Yeah, for sure. Like how you know how like dolphins are coming back in Italy and
Mhm.
monkeys in Thailand and all that. So there was a meme about that. It's like the world is healing, and it shows Godzilla in Japan. Like he came back.
Mhm. Yes, yeah, I've seen that one. No, but that's just it. Is like we are in a situation now where we have to really look at ourselves. I think doing a podcast at this time is good. You know, or TED Talks, podcasts, lectures, those types of things is something that there's enough television. You know, some of us are a little too stir crazy to sit down and read books. I know I've started a whole bunch of them and haven't sat down to finish any of
Nice.
them. So my book.
Just right.
Yeah, I always write more than I read. And that's because, I mean, reading is only one way that you pull in the stuff that you write. Sometimes a song or like a situation or even a conversation can inspire you to write. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a book.
Yeah, and like I'm not a big book guy, but I do read some books. And I had this guest on. I had him a few times, Roderick Edwards, and we talked about his book in one of my episodes. His book is called "The Universe of Every Religion and None." God damn, that shit blew me away.
Yeah, there are some books that do that. Like I I always have an academic book and a fiction book going side by side because I use the fiction book as like a recess to the academic book, if that makes any sense.
Smart.
So
Hey, you
yeah,
don't mess around.
yeah, but I don't do it all the time either because sitting down for long time intervals is not so easy. You know, audiobooks are usually great for that. But if it is a good book, I can sit down and not put it down until it's done. But I have to be able to commit to it. Like if I start reading a really good book, I'm like, oh man, once I get into this, I'm not going to turn back until like there's a pile of food by my bed and like I've only taken bathroom breaks. And I know myself to be that compulsive when I love a good book, so I have to really like put that book down and discipline myself until I can do a binge.
Wow, you get really deep down into it, huh?
Sometimes you do.
Damn.
Anne Rice does that to me almost every time.
Oh, wow. What kind of books does she write?
She does the vampire series.
Oh, nice.
Well, she does other things too, but my favorites are her vampires because she makes them so cultured. And because of, you know, how old they are and how eloquent she writes and how she's able to kind of pull you into that scene, you really do feel like you're like living vicariously through her characters. And how cool is it to be an actual vampire with, you know, high senses and have 500 years of culture?
Lots
It's just
of
a good
knowledge.
place. Yeah, it's a great place to be if you're going to live through someone else's avatar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get that from an hour and a half movie because there's so much. Like Da Vinci Code, the book versus the movie is so substantially different because of that very thing. It's like the movie's awesome. You learn a ton from that movie. Imagine how much you learn doing 8 hours of that concept.
Holy shit. It'd be like a Lord of the Rings kind of deal.
I haven't read Lord of the Rings, but that I bet would be like over the top.
Like the movies themselves are like 3 hours.
Yes, and they're awesome, every one of them too.
Right? And
Oh wow, cool.
so where can people find your poetry, your books? You got a website or social media?
Yeah, I'm just leading everyone to my site right now, which is roguepoet.net. And there are links to my sites, like social networking sites on there. There's a link to my tribe and their social networking platforms too. They're all artists like me, and they're all, well, not all of them, but most of them are lifelong friends. There's some fresh blood in there, but not much. And they're like an eclectic range of people. Actually, what's really cool when I talk about this a lot is there's 22 of them, and there's Christian, Catholic, pagan, Wiccan, an eclectic spiritualist, you know, atheist, agnostic, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, and we all get along with each other.
The whole
We're all
variety pack.
Yeah, we're a variety pack. We're like the same size, but a bunch of mismatched socks, if that makes any sense.
And that's the best right there, you know.
Oh, it's awesome to be in a room with like 5 of us at the same time. And I miss and match people. It's kind of like shuffling a deck of cards. I like to have like 5 of us together usually. 2 is good, or 5 of us good one-on-one. Or like 5 of us where we don't look like we make sense, but we make perfect sense together.
Yo.
So yeah, that tribe's on there. And they're all wicked cool people, and they're all artists, so they all have their like creative outlets too. But yeah, I jumped off social networking for like 7 years.
Oh wow.
And so I'm just crawling out of the dark and reconnecting with certain people. So it's crazy because I became antisocial during a time that I had to set my life aside for some other things, selfless things, but ones I don't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying to release a book and connect with everybody, and it's super overwhelming to do the 2 of them simultaneously. So that site works until I've caught up with all of that.
Nice. Damn, you got it down.
Hopefully. I'm trying.
Yeah, and it sounds very interesting. I mean, like I said, I like the way you think. You're a very smart individual. Very creative too.
Thanks, man. And same with you.
Thanks. And yeah, it's been great talking to you. Awesome conversation. I mean, I could go on forever.
Yeah, I think we have been. My phone's about to die, and I'm still enjoying it though. So no, I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being on, and looking forward to having you again. And whenever you want, you're always welcome.
Yeah, true. You can click that site too, and we can link up online if you like.
Awesome. Thank you. Will do.
All right, brother. Well, it was nice talking to you, and thank you so much for having me and having this awesome exchange.
Yep. Awesome.
Truly.
Thank you for being on, and appreciate it.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye. Screaming Chewy Show, your source of entertainment and overall fuckery. And it starts now.